Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Is it happy? We're going to pretend that it is happy for everyone and we're not under a house arrest of some sorts. My name is Michelle Berto. I am a former television news anchor, and now I teach executives how to look good and sound good on camera. And today we are doing a live question and answer session to make sure that you are leaving today's session with a little tidbit that is going to make your life easier when it comes to messaging and communication, both for internal and external purposes for your organization or for your company or for your practice. So all throughout this week, we have been asking you to send us questions about what you would like us to cover so that this time could be a little bit of a mental break for you, but also a time where you could learn something to make your life better starting next week. So I was really surprised because a lot of the questions that we got had to do with media pitching and media kits, and then a little bit of video conferencing. So those are the three bulk items that I'll be addressing in today's Q&A so far. But again, if you have other questions, we're here so we can answer them immediately. Okay, so one of the questions that was asked a lot was, how do I pitch my brand to the media? And I think first and foremost, the thing to remember right now is the trend, right? I always say you have to be newsworthy, you have to be relevant, and unless your story has something to do with the COVID-19 virus, then you shouldn't pitch it right now. A lot of news organizations are doing things at the end of their newscast that leaves people on a high note to lift people's spirits up. But still, those stories are also virus related. So a couple of companies that have been in touch with me this week were asking about how to redeem themselves in markets where unfortunately they had to do severe layoffs in different spots around the country already. And how do they rebound from that, not only to regain a reputation of confidence in their own brand in that particular market, but also to help out the people that they laid off? Is there a way that they could utilize the media to push their brand forward and grow in these crazy times versus contract? And the answer is yes, right? We could always have an opportunity in times like this. We could always see an opportunity. And it depends on the company that you have, what type of service you provide, what type of product you provide. And the answer to that is going to be different depending on the service, right? So for instance, if you are a company that had to quickly go virtual for all of your servicing and product needs. Like for instance, let's say you put together camps for athletes during the summer, right? And your whole business is during the summer months, you focus on children who are going to be doing different camps, and you have soccer camps, and you have baseball camps, and you have basketball camps, and this is what you do, and this is the service you provide. Well, obviously, people aren't going to be signing up for those camps right now, and you might have to deal with a little bit of a shift, a big shift, right? How are you going to take all of those programs and in a matter of 2 weeks make them all virtual other than working around the clock? And then also, how are you going to promote those in a way where the purchaser, the parents, grandparents, guardians, etc., feel comfortable purchasing at the same price point, if not a little bit lower, so that they can keep their children active? And then I think the next question on top of that is, on top of that conversion, what can you say to the media to highlight that work and to make it special and newsworthy, to bring more people into your brand and to increase all of your exposure? So the first question you want to tackle is, how are you going to convert all of those programs and make them worthwhile? That would be an internal question of make sure you're focusing on clear, concise, and conversational language, and thinking about activities that you could do that are going to be appropriate for the price point and how you could elevate it, right? So it's not just about taking the program and making it virtual, but now we have to think about how we can elevate it, because that point of elevation is also the point of how you differentiate yourself in the market which in turn is how you answer the second question on how you could pitch yourself to the media. So brainstorming all of this, right? So if we're going with that example of, for instance, a sports company, and how are you going to do that? Because this is driven off of being outside and being active for your children, and parents want their kids to be active even though they're staying at home. So how can we do this? How can I can't have a batting cage in my kitchen, can I? No. So how am I going to teach them how to be safe and how to still enjoy all these sports during this crazy time? So we were brainstorming this, and we could elevate this situation, right? And think about the technology behind this of, can you team up with a company like yourself, maybe your competitor, and can you do a bigger competition that's now maybe a global competition? Maybe you find a counterpart that's in London or a different part of the country. And is there a way that you could create maybe via Zoom something that can mimic having a global virtual tournament? Now, that is so different from pitching the media on, we switched our programs and now we're virtual, and yay, your kids can stay active during this time. And isn't that wonderful? Because even though that could be attractive to the media, it really depends on the cycle of this news story. And it could be perceived as a commercial, right? So anything that has even the taste of an advertisement for a company, even though at the end of the day it's getting kids active, still feels a little icky to journalists, right? So I'm giving you the inside perspective here of what people are going to be talking about if this is an idea pitched in an editorial session. And I'll tell you right now, the first thing that an executive producer would ask is, well, we can't just focus on one company because then that's a commercial. So news reporter, you'll have to find three companies that are doing this one thing so that it doesn't feel like we're doing an advertisement for this one particular company. So to make sure that the reporter isn't in that position during the pitch meeting, during that editorial session, one thing that you could do is make sure that you give an idea that lifts it up to the next level, right? So that idea of maybe a global virtual tournament is different. Now we're taking a negative and we're spinning a positive tone to it because we're going global and we're connecting with individuals that are young, same age, love the same sport, and now we have a connection that we didn't have before the COVID-19 crisis. So the silver lining in that story is, if you want to pitch your brand expertise or practice, you have to think about what you are going to be talking about, right? So it's different for each situation, obviously. But for this particular situation, if you feel like you have a niche in a particular market, and you don't just want to pitch a story of, hey, we switched everything to virtual, we're hiring virtual coaches, maybe that could have an employment angle to it. It has to add something to the story where you're elevating your pitch so that it's different. It's not just hey, we're a small business and here's how we're pivoting with this crisis. So we want to make sure that you have that element of elevation. Okay, that's what I call it. What is your element of elevation? Think about that. What is going to make your story different at that editorial pitch session than just another small business story? Because unfortunately, we all are going to have the same small business story depending on your television news market, right? We're all going to be dealing with unemployment stories. We're all going to be dealing with stimulus stories. So what is going to be a part of your pitch that's going to make your story stand out? That is the goal. Okay, so we talked about one example there. If you are a healthcare practice, because I know a lot of you guys that are a part of this audience are in the healthcare industry. Okay, this is a totally different situation for you. If you are a part of healthcare, especially if you are an ER doctor, a pediatrician, an intern, anybody who could speak about infectious disease, you have a different opportunity ahead of you. you should be pitching yourself immediately. Your marketing team should have a media kit that could be pitched out to all of the different news stations in your market, both for print and television, and any podcasts and any online shows that you think are worthy of continuing your thought leadership branding. Okay, so if this is you and this falls under your purview and you're in healthcare, first of all, let's just take a minute on this Friday to give you guys a round of applause. Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Crystal. I appreciate you watching. I'm going to get to your questions in a minute. I definitely think that you are probably inundated with different fears that maybe other parts of our community don't see. You are in the ER looking at things that we are not privy to. And for that, we applaud you. We applaud you leaving your families, putting yourself in danger, and working around the clock for the health of our world. So thank you first. But if you're also interested in expanding your thought leadership, this is actually an opportune time for you. And you should be doing so by pitching yourself to television markets and shows who need your expertise. How many doctors have we seen on Fox Business, CNN, etc.? Those windows of opportunity come with the overall headline of what is relevant. And right now you are beyond relevant. People want to hear from you. And in order to do that, you need to pitch yourself to the media. They're not going to come knocking on your door, especially because there are so many laws on how and when a healthcare provider can be seen on the media, right? So if you work for a healthcare group, what I mean by that is that you're going to have to go through several layers of PR to get approvals, just so that you could speak, right? You have to be on the expert list, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, if you are independent and you want to get your ideas out there and you have expertise in this area, call upon your office administrator, call upon your marketing team, call me because I will help you write the pitch. You need to pitch your expertise to the media so that they can put you into a list. It's a roster that sits at the assignment desk so that reporters and producers and booking producers have a list that is easily accessible so all news segments can be fed your contact information. So what does that mean? That your email, cell phone number is at the top of the list at these editorial desks so that a news producer who's working weekend, a news producer who's working morning, a booking producer that's getting segments together for the next day or the next day, those people can call you first, okay? The real estate on that list is prime. If you could get on that list, then you are singing in spades, okay? So this is the way to do it. You have to put together a media kit, and then you have to pitch yourself. So that dives into another topic. And so, Crystal, this one's for you. How do you develop a media kit? So a media kit that is a general media kit and a media kit that is for instance, a healthcare provider who's pitching right now are going to look a little different. But the nuts and bolts remain the same. And that is telling the news producer, obviously, who you are, your contact information, why you are an expert in this area. So who you are, contact information, why you're an expert in this area. The more generalized list will also include social media statistics. If, for instance, you are a blogger and you want to demonstrate your reach, you'll have all of the stats there, how many page views you get, etc. And that should be in there. But also what should be in there is any previous media hits that you have done. Whether you've been quoted in the New York Times, whether you've been quoted in a local podcast. It doesn't have to be Washington Post, New York Times, LA Times. Anything that shows that you have stood in the presence of others and shared your expertise. Let's say that one more time. Anything that shows that you have stood in the presence of others and shared your expertise, that should be on there, okay? You're building up your reputation to prove to those in the media that you do know what you're talking about. So one way to do this in an instant is to create a sizzle reel. So what is a sizzle reel? A sizzle reel is also called a demo reel. It's also called a resume reel. And it is an attachment, a video file that you include in this packet or you include in this email that shows that you've been down this road before. Okay, so what does a sizzle reel include? Depending on how many clips you have, this is the rundown for a sizzle reel. Sizzle reel should start off with maybe some fast music, some engaging music, and you're going to do quick clips, a montage of different speaking engagements that you've done, right? So maybe you haven't done any TV yet. Maybe you haven't been on stage in front of thousands yet. That's okay, right? We all had to start somewhere. So yes, Crystal, include any speaking you have done. Those pictures that have you in the front of the room speaking to a group of however many, that's what you want to use. If you could use stills, but you could also use the video. So what I mean by that is if you have the video of you speaking in front of your group, great, use that. Even better, do you have a soundbite from that speaking engagement that really wraps up who you are? We want to hear that, right? The booking producers want to hear that. If you don't and you only have stills from that speaking engagement, absolutely totally fine. Use that and play that fast music and show me different pictures and different stills of you speaking in front of different audiences, and that is awesome. That is a great start to your montage. Afterwards, you want to go a little bit deeper in who you are and why you're an expert and what's your goal of all of these media hits, right? So for instance, maybe you say, oh, that's a good question, Whitney. I'm going to get to that in a second. Whitney just chimed in and said, how do we get clips of TV segments? I'm going to get to that. Okay, but going back to Crystal, I was using you as an example. So maybe you use one of your speaking engagements maybe from Momentum, and if you could get the still, you could start your montage with that. A couple of speaking engagements. If you could have different scenes, that's best, right? If you don't have different scenes and you still want to get this out there, different vantage points of the same event, okay? That's fine too. Something that's quick and fast paced to show the person, basically here's what they're looking for. What does this person look like on camera? How do they sound over a microphone? Do they look assertive and do they look like they could do well on TV? Those are really the nuts and bolts of the questions that need to be answered. So once you go through that quick montage, and by the way, that montage portion should be no longer than a minute, okay? Quick, sliced very quickly. So make sure if you are editing it yourself or having an editor do it for you, those are going to be quick snippets. So no more than 10 seconds a snippet. Again, that should last only about a minute. I would even say 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how much you have in the bank of how many pictures you have or how many videos you have. Okay, so we talked about the montage. The second part of that montage is talking directly to the camera of why you are an expert and a thought leader. Pretty much giving, for instance, your LinkedIn resume or your elevator pitch of, mine. My name's Michelle Berto. I'm a former television news anchor. I now teach executives how to look good and sound good on camera. I do this in 3 ways. Boom, boom, boom. I'm out the door. Okay. So what is your elevator pitch? You want to deliver that. Okay. The bottom line, and I just want to reiterate that because I think that this could be a point of a hang up for some people who are just starting, and I don't want you to leave this conversation being like, Michelle told me I needed a sizzle reel and I needed to be on TV at least 10 times to get my minute of montage, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you need to provide a video element called a sizzle reel to your pitches or to your email to show the producers who you are, what you look like, How do you sound? Can you speak in sound bites? Are you engaging? If you are able to do that with just your montage and a quick little elevator pitch at the end of that, perfect. Those are the only things that they are interested in seeing. You need to make sure that you are getting their attention for that short snippet of time. Okay, don't overthink it. It's not going to be a 10-minute video. Okay, it's really truly just to see who you are and how do you sound, and do you have the legs and the chops and the expertise to be a part of a segment. That's what they're looking for. Okay, so we had a good question from Whitney. How do we get the clips of our television segments? Ooh, this is so good. So people used to ask me this as a reporter all the time, especially if it was a field interview. Hey, when is this going to be airing? And can I get a clip from it? And the short answer is always to get the clip from the news organization is really annoying and quite difficult because we get these requests all the time. And there's just no time in the day to service every single person who's been on air and give them clips. So you really want to befriend whoever is doing the interview to make sure that you actually get a clip. But I always recommend recording. Now you could record on your own devices, right? DVR and just or whatever stream, and then you would just pull it from there and make your own video, because it's really going to be a waste of your time continuing to ask the producer or the editors to get that clip for you. So usually the television news segments, if that's your local affiliate that you're going after, they'll put a clip up on the website, and then you could ask for permission to keep that clip, because obviously those clips get rotated in and they have the copyright. So that's something that you could get from the news organization. So Whitney, I hope I answered your question there. Let me see real quick. Okay, all right, cool. All right, apparently I'm answering questions before they're even being posted, so that's awesome. I'm on the same wavelength as you guys. Okay, so we talked about sizzle reels, demo reels, resume reels, whatever you want to call them. We talked about media kits. One thing I want to add is you could find media kit templates all over the place. I mean, they're on Pinterest. They're really everywhere just to get the template itself. But what I noticed was that none of them had that sizzle reel element. And to be quite frank with you, that's really the only element that truly matters. So whatever video you could provide, even if it's of something like this, like do you do a show on a weekly basis where you just show up for an audience? Again, they're just looking at what you look like, what you sound like, and is it engaging and in sound bites. That's it. So you could really pull those media clips from anything that you've done. Speaking in front of a group, speaking on a weekly basis or whatever on a show like this. It could even be if you were a part of a podcast and you want to add some pictures to it so it has a video element. Sky's the limit. Don't feel like you have to pressure to fit it into this real template that I'm telling you. I'm just advising include some sort of video, because that's really the only thing that they're going to be looking at. Okay, so we talked about media kits. One thing I wanted to add is if you could know your channel, like know the brand of the station that you're pitching to. And if it's not a television station and it's print, know the brand. What is their catchy phrases that they use? Put yourself into a segment. What do I mean by that? Like, so for when I used to work at Fox, we had a 9 o'clock hour that was geared towards moms who are stay at home. That was the audience. So if you could put your pitch through the eyes of that particular audience, say that in the pitch. Quite frankly, hey, I think this idea would fit perfectly in your 9 o'clock hour, maybe around 9:12, right before when you do weather at 9:15. And here's why I think it would be perfect there, XYZ. So put yourself into their show list And I think that's a way to wow them. Like, oh, this person really pays attention to the content that we put out on a daily basis. They know who we are. They know our particular branding. They're using our branding words in the pitch. Hint, hint. That's a good thing to do. I hate doing pitches that are you just spray it out there and hope for the best. You know, they call it spray and pray. It's the same pitch and you just give it on out to every single media outlet and hope that someone's going to take you up on it. It's like when you are going and interviewing for a job. You're not going to have one resume for every single job that's out there. You're going to tweak your resume to make sure it matches the wording of the advertisement for the job, right? Of the job placement, so that it gets picked up by keywords, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same thing when you pitch the media. You're going to use some of their branding language as a part of your pitch to show them that you care about their product and hey, you've seen it and hey, you pay attention, and you don't just only pay attention, you're actually going to give them an idea of what show of theirs could be a best fit for you. Maybe you target the weekend newscast because a lot of people don't want to come in on the weekend. And maybe that's a great first television appearance for you, so that you could get booked and start getting more of a reel together. Start local and then you could go national with a CNN pitch. By then you'll probably have a marketing team doing that for you. Okay, so I hope that answered all the questions about media kits. Let me just scroll through some of these questions. Yep, video in the media kit. It should be the number one thing, Whitney. So I'm so glad you wrote that. Whitney wrote, I never thought about including a video in the media kit. Yes, include the video in the media kit. Okay, so 2 things, and then I'll switch gears and stop talking about media kits. So 2 takeaways about media kits. Always, always, always include a video, because the only thing they care about is what you sound like and look like on camera and whether you're engaging and speaking in sound bites. Okay, so just remember that when you're pitching. Second tip about the media kits is, if you can, place yourself in one of the shows. Hey, this could be a great weekend segment for you, or this could be great in your 9 o'clock hour. Maybe this would work really well for you in a live Q&A on your Facebook. I know you do it on Fridays at 10. Oh, as a producer, oh, she knows we do it Fridays at 10. She really does watch. She really does know us. Okay, I'm going to put this into the, let me look into this further pile. Okay, so good question, Josh. All right, those are the 2 things I wanted to leave you on the media kits. And we also spoke about all the how to pitch your brand to the media. When you pitch your brand expertise to the media, make sure that it is relevant to what is happening, because if you're pitching something right now that's not COVID-19 related, don't bother. Save yourself, right? Because you don't want to be a part of the annoying pile either. If you are trying to pitch yourself to the media, make sure that it is a valid extension of the COVID-19, because nothing's worse than when you have somebody pitch and you're saying, what does somebody throw something out here, a random career. What does architecture have to do with COVID-19? Why would I do a segment about architecture or engineering? So it has to be relevant. You have to connect it to the relevant news of the day. If you have questions on how to do that, I'd be more than happy to have a phone conversation with you. Hit up my Calendly link. Okay, so we talked about media kits. We talked about how to pitch your brand to the media. The last thing I wanted to talk about, because we're coming up on 30 minutes here. God, I feel like I'm talking forever. Is video conferencing strategies. So I got that question from Carol. Thank you for asking that. Makeup. Crystal, I'll come back to makeup. All right, let me get through this idea of video conferencing. I had like 10 questions about this, obviously, because everyone's doing video conferencing. How do I look good with video conferencing? Okay, here's a quick 3-tip rundown. Number 1, if you can, put your desk in front of a window. All right, I know how many people are seeing advertisements for the lights, the quick desk lights that you can just set up. I'm not saying don't get those. They're important. But if you don't feel like you want to go that far, what can you do to have great lighting today, tomorrow, in the next minute? Is take your computer and put it in front of a window. Natural light is the best light always, okay? So number one, put your desk in front of a window. Number two, make sure that you have some sort of audio device hooked up to your video conference. I don't have anything fantastic. I don't even have my lavalier mic or my IFB, but I have something, and it's headphones that's included with my computer. Wear your headphones. It's important. Nothing is worse than hollow audio. Put your desk in front of a window, use a microphone, even if it's just your headphones. Number three is make sure that you elevate your computer. Some people have the stand-up desk apparatus where you could just use the levers to lift it up a bit. If you don't, throw some textbooks underneath your computer. I'm not even kidding you. If you have children, take one of their toy organizer bins, put your computer on top of that. The key here is you need to look at the camera. You're not looking, look at this difference, guys. You're not looking at yourself. Oh boy, I got hairy shoes today. You're not looking at yourself speaking into the computer because I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at myself talking to the computer. Okay? You don't want to do that. You want to look up at your green light so that you are addressing your audience. When you do presentations, address the green light. Do not look down and address the green light. So I have my computer right now on a device, but if I took it off the device, this is what most people do, and I had a congressman once who did this, and it drove me nuts. All right, see, if I have to look down at you, that's not acceptable in this day and age, right? You want to make sure that your camera is straight in line with your eyes. Now look at the difference of this shot. And this shot. I just elevated it back up. Let me get you framed properly. Okay. All right. So you want to make sure that your camera is on the same line as your eye line. Okay. That is how we communicate when we're having a conversation with someone, when we're physically out and about. Not nowadays, but when you're at a restaurant, you look at someone across the table, right? You don't look down at them and look at their nose or look at their stomach, et cetera, et cetera. No, you look straight at their eyes because you have the eye line. And that's what we're doing during video conferencing. We're just changing the dynamic. We're adding technology into it. So I think we get all confused on where do I look? You look at the camera. Crystal says huge difference. Thank you. I'm so glad that that was a visual cue as to how important it is. So what are the three things you need to remember for video conferencing, for any shows like this, anytime that you are going to be addressing someone via your computer, your laptop, your iPad, your iPhone, your smartphone, make sure you know where the camera is on the device. If you're using your phone, do a wave. I'm not kidding. It's really, I tell people to do this. Do a wave. Make sure you know which side of the phone the camera is on. Make sure that it is situated where we're not like this with the phone. We're like this, okay? You're looking at the camera, and that camera, if it's your phone, should be on a tripod. If you're using your computer, remember you have a stand for your computer or your laptop or your tablet, and make sure you know where the camera is, because if you're looking at a different part of the screen and you think that you're addressing the camera and it's not there, that's going to be a bad video. Okay? All right, so we covered a lot of different topics. Let me make sure we're scrolling through some of the questions. Someone mentioned makeup. Okay, makeup. Let me see, makeup for TV. How do we get clips? Can we use the same basis media kit for different kinds of media? Should we have different ones for TV and print? That is a great question. I always would include your video, even if it is a print outlet, and here's why. Most print outlets absolutely nowadays have a video element to them. And they will take your content and put it into video form, even if it's not a video per se. So maybe they are going to be taking maybe they're going to make a montage of print quotes and put them up behind video and create a 20-second inspirational video clip. Maybe that's what they're going to do with your content. Or maybe they are going to take the clip of you providing the content and putting it into some sort of video form on their website. So even if you have a print target list of media contacts, always, always, always include video, because they are thinking video. They have so much space. It's not like the olden days where it's I only can afford to have 300 words. That's the only real estate I could afford, right? Nowadays, they need to compete with everybody else that's out there putting video clips online. So even though it's a print outlet, make sure you're giving them something video related. So yes is the answer to that question. Include video in print outlet pitches. Makeup. Make sure, okay, what about makeup? Oh, eyebrows? Yes. Okay, so if you're asking what kind of makeup to use in TV, it's different for TV and, for instance, like something we're doing now. Guys, before I would go on air for television, I put on fake eyelashes every single day. My hair had to be like perfectly hairsprayed in place. Every single, like this right here, those strands would be such a point of distraction on HD. And I know that, the cameras on our laptops and our tablets are awesome, and our phones are amazing nowadays. But I just think that in this type of environment, it is a little bit more relaxed. And I think that it's okay to be more of who you are, right? So for television, I just remember the idea of everything has to be perfect. Your lips had to be lined. Your eyebrows had to be long. Your eyelashes had to be long and luscious, and your eyebrows needed to be outlined to perfection. I give every content creator a little bit more grace because of the requirement to keep putting out content on such a ferocious basis. To keep that schedule is tough. Now, looks matter, right? If I was talking to you and I had my hair like this, that's going to be a distraction. You're going to think I'm crazy, right? So, you still have to make sure that you show up to the best of your ability. And there are a couple ways to do that pretty easily. So, obviously, men, this is different than for females, but even for men, throw on some powder, okay? Because that is something that will definitely make sure that your skin looks even instead of blotchy. That's something that we could all do. It's super easy. So make sure that you have a clean palette, that you definitely use a good foundation makeup, and then the rest of it, you don't have to spend a lot of money on. But if you have a good foundation, that's the most important stuff. So if you're pinching pennies and trying to figure out which makeup is best, because makeup gets really expensive, I would say focus on this. For females and for men actually on this. Your under eye, to make sure that your color is even, your concealer, your foundation, if you use a cream or powder base, and then your blot powder. So I use concealer underneath my eyes, and then I use, I've used MAC for about 20 years. I'm only telling you that because I really love the brand. They do not pay me. This is not a sponsorship. There's plenty of other makeup artists and brands out there that could do wonderful things for you too. But for me, I use MAC, and I spend a lot of money on their concealer and their foundation. And then I don't feel like I need to spend as much money on eye makeup. So if you're looking for a way to pinch pennies, that could be it. Okay, other tips when it comes to makeup is make sure make sure that your eyebrows are even and lined out. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I'm gonna go full throttle here on you guys. So I have on my left eyebrow, I got it waxed one time and they made a mistake and it never grew back. So I have to be very conscious of this, that I have to pencil in the top of my left eyebrow just so it looks even. So I'm actually going to take it off so that you could see the difference. That's how much I love you guys. Well, now it just looks kind of crazy, but I'm sure you see the dip. You guys see that dip? That's because I just took off the line to make it look even. So eyebrows are super important because they frame your face. And if you're going to do one thing before you step on camera, is to make sure that your eyebrows are even and, if you can, freshly waxed. After eyebrows, lips. Throw on some lip gloss. Crystal, I love you. Crystal was saying, I have done this every day since the first day I met you because you said that. I have been preaching about eyebrows for a really long time. I think I'm going on 15 years talking about eyebrows. And by the way, just so you guys know, the reason why I talk about eyebrows is because when you're on TV and consultants come in, that's what they talk about. Makeup artists will come in and say, Michelle, I noticed you didn't cover up that eyebrow mistake. So those are the kind of words that we get when we're on air, and we have to sit through these consultations of how we could look better on camera. So I always took that one with me because it matters a lot. It made sense. Okay, so eyebrows. The next thing is lip gloss. I feel kind of badly because my makeup today is not stellar, but here we are talking about makeup. Throw some lip gloss, liner. If you have a strong lip color, have a more subdued eye. You don't want to have both because then you go into clown mode. All right, it doesn't look good on camera. It's not a good look. So if you have a deep red lip, make sure that you have a neutral eye. If you are trying to create more of a deeper shadow with your eye, do more of a neutral lip. Makes sense, right? Okay. All right. So we talked about makeup. We talked about eyebrows and lip gloss. Okay. Aside from making sure I have eyebrows, do I have to have a full face to do TV? Should I hire someone to do it professionally? Good. To look good, or is basic okay? So the best part about television is that you don't want to be something that you're not, right? I think that shows that you're not genuine and it is not a part of your brand. And I think the answer to that question is be your brand. Some people, as a part of their brand, wear distinctive eyeglasses. That's a part of their brand. Some people have distinctive haircuts or hair color. That's a part of their brand. Some people like to have, you guys know the like 1950s cat eye eyeliner look, and that's a part of their brand. They would look that way whether they're on TV or not. They would still wear that eyeliner, for instance. So if it's not a part of your brand, don't do it. You don't have to hire someone to do your makeup to go on TV. Should you get your hair freshly dyed or whatever? Maybe if you have the time and you're booked 3 days out, then yeah, I would probably get a haircut or get fresh dye, whatever you do for maintenance. I would definitely get your eyebrows waxed. But I don't think that, I think the headline for that answer is be yourself. And that doesn't mean that you have to go out and hire someone to do your makeup. I just think that could be a big waste of money. And it's putting your focus more on how you look versus how you sound. And as long as your appearance isn't distracting in any way, you're not wearing big, clunky necklaces or clunky earrings that can be distracting, or hitting the microphone, that can be distracting. You know, as long as you're not doing things like that, I think that it's best to just be the best version of you. So I want you to go into that appearance thinking more about the words that you're going to say and how you're going to say them versus how you look, because you're rocking it. you pitched the news, they called you up, you're doing you, and that's amazing. And that in and of itself, I think you look perfect regardless of what the visual is. So I hope that was helpful. Okay. Okay, I think I answered all. Anybody else have any other questions? I think I missed one about branding. Okay. All right, great. I think that we are ready to wrap up. The branding question, we already went through, but here is the answer once again. We were talking about how do you know the branding? The question was, how do you know the branding of a television news outlet? And so that's a good question. You need to pay attention to the words that they use as a part of their everyday newscast. So maybe they say, we're the investigators in some of their commercials, or maybe they say, we're here bringing you live, local, late-breaking news. Those are the words that you need to latch onto so that you know whether or not you would even fit in to their news segments. Another one could be, we're here for you, or let's see, count on us. That's another one that's big news wording. I think that you just have to make sure that when you're pitching the media, you be aware of those branding words so that you can either include them into your pitch or say to yourself, is a breaking news station really going to have a makeup artist come on and do a segment? They're not. Save yourself. That's what I mean. You can't create one pitch and then just spray it out and pray that they're going to pick it up. You want to make sure you're as focused as possible. So I hope that was a quick way to answer that question. All right, we're coming up on an hour, so I am going to bid you guys adieu and return you to the crazy world that we are now living in. I hope that this was a bit of a respite for you guys on how to focus on yourself, your companies, and think about different ways that you could use this time to really propel yourself for the next chapter. Sometimes we don't want to show up, right? But we have to. We have to keep pressing on. And in doing so, that says a lot to the audience that you serve. So always remember that. Sometimes it's easy to hide in a hole, especially this day and age. It's easy to find excuses. It's easy to say, my office has been displaced, I'm not going to go live. My kids are home, I have to go teach. The excuses could be endless, but choose to not make excuses today. Choose to serve yourself because you're rocking it and you deserve to take the time to market yourself as appropriately as possible with clear, concise, and conversational messaging in video format. All right, guys, many blessings to you. Big hugs for all that you guys do, all of your brilliance that you put out into our communities, and we have to be here for each other. So I'm here for you. If you have any additional questions, feel free to contact me. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.